Today's session was, on the face of it, if you just went by word count and what I actually altered, pretty slow day, a pretty weak day. But this is often why, especially the later stages of a novel, you can't really measure your progress by word count. The further you get with your work, the further you get with your stories, whatever it might be, the less there is to change. And the less there is to change, the harder you have to look to alter things. And this is where a lot of the self-sabotage comes in. All right, you're almost looking, at a certain point, you're almost looking for things to change just for the sake of it, just because you don't think the work's good enough as it is. So you go through and you start making all these different type of changes, and in fact, taking a work that might have been good and you're now turning it mediocre because you need something new, because you think something new will somehow mean it's somehow better. And so today, a lot of that was avoiding that mistake just by carefully going through what I had written, reading it over and over, each page, and really trying to figure out what alterations I wanted to make, and what might serve the story better. There weren't many today. As much as yesterday was kind of a nice rewrite, that was a section that benefited a lot from it. I'd say now it's probably at least 10% better than where it might have been. This section I'm working on now was pretty solid as it was. So for me, it was just reading through, making sure, all right, does this really say what I wanted to say? Do my words actually convey what I'd like them to? And if they are, excellent. All right, move forward. But it doesn't always work that well. It doesn't always come that easy. So what I ended up doing was I ended up paring down a lot of my session today down to just this kind of video right here where you see me doing at least a little bit of typing, a little bit of sentence revisions, because that's what we have. That's what we have. We didn't have a lot to actually show you all. It's not much to show you guys, just me staring at a screen all day. It's almost enough to make you question if I'm actually doing work. But that's what this is. At the later stages, it's a lot of staring, a lot of checking, and a lot of trying to keep yourself from going too crazy. Don't get the drastic haircut, I guess is what I would say. Much like how maybe when you go through kind of a crazy period in your life, a rough period, and you go through and you decide to get this really wacky, I wouldn't say wacky, but this really drastic, bold haircut, right? Men, women, whatever. Oftentimes, or at least in my experience with myself, the haircut never really worked. The change of style never really, in that moment, was ever really made sense. It was just bold for the sake of being bold, different for being different. And with something as important as the novel that you spent years working on, you cannot risk that. You cannot risk ruining your work just to let some aggression out, just to change things up, just for the sake of novelty. That's not what's going to get your work better. It's recognizing what actually is not working and making those corrections and being wise enough to realize when things are working. It's just you that is sort of playing these games in your head. Writing's all a head game. It is. If you can master your psyche, your writing and your stress from this process would be immensely minimal. But myself, much like many other writers, have not mastered that skill. And so we kind of go through, we look at our work, and we have to sort of fight against our impulses to go for the more drastic items, when the harder thing is to accept that your story, the way it's told, is actually working, and that you've stretched your story and that what you wanted to say as far as you could, and that doing anything more would actually be more damaging to it. It's acceptance. At this level, it's revision and a lot of acceptance and a lot of self-love that is needed.